and welcome to our 117th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about WooCommerce Starter Theme and blocks, WordCamp Europe, Gutenberg 20.7 and 20.8. I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times, core contributor for the WordPress open source project, and I work for Automatic as a developer advocate. And I have with me Ellen Bauer, who is the Woo product lead and my resident theme wizard. So how are you today, Ellen? It's so great that you can join me again.
Thank you very much, Birgit. I'm great, and I'm very excited to be on your podcast again. It has been a while, and it's always exciting for me to catch up with everything going on with the Gutenberg updates or like surrounding things like great block theme. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm on my way to halfway on the way to Europe for WordCamp Europe, which is exciting. I'm in Thailand right now, in Bangkok, and there's actually a thunderstorm just rolling in. So I hope that won't add to any noise in our podcast today. But yeah, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, well, it's always good when we have some sudden movements on our podcast. It kind of gets us excited, but it's not so good when you have a lightning strike and the power goes out. So that happens in
No,
America quite often. So
in New Zealand as well, where we live, I hope it doesn't happen here. I don't think
no,
so.
I don't think so either. So yeah, but you mentioned the last time, that was a longer time that you're on the show. So the last time, it's about 10 months ago, and you just had
Yes.
started at WooCommerce, and you went on a quest to increase block theme adoption for WooCommerce. So how is it going?
I'm still on the same quest. And yeah, we are doing a lot of work. And obviously, there are a lot of complicated topics to solve because e-commerce is just another level of complexity compared to just WordPress and blogs like core WordPress. So the first thing we had to tackle and still really I feel more or less still in the beginnings of it is improving the Woo blocks and then as a next layer we are building a pattern library but we really needed to dig into the Woo blocks and we wanted to align them more with core blocks to make it like one experience for users, and there were quite a lot of discrepancies and there still are, and we are about to release the first edition of new default Woo starter theme, not replacing, but kind of as an update to the classic theme storefront, because yeah, it is the last default Woo theme that was there that people recommended or that was released from WooCommerce. So we are updating that and there will be a first version. It's really just a starter. I call it the working horse because it's not meant to be a pretty shiny theme, but really a starter point and also a reference for us to kind of test our own blogs, to make them practical, to see what can we build and what can we not, and what do we want to build from the front end of e-commerce stores with WooCommerce, and what is just not possible at the moment, to kind of set priorities on our work on blogs for WooCommerce. And I think that has really helped us to prioritize things that this kind of prioritization hasn't really happened before. Yeah, you really need to use your own product to kind of see the shortcomings and what you want to fix. So that is the thing. That's why I call it the working horse. And then as a next step, once we have this released, we want to improve documentation. We want to help theme builders use this theme as a starting point to see how we think theme builders should work with e-commerce, and similar to the default WordPress theme 2024, 2025, just as a good reference point. And we are kind of concentrating on one theme because we want to leverage styles and make it more like a mix on match of styles, of font sets, and a pattern library, use the components and make them mix and match rather than having it be one kind of stiff default theme that can't be changed. So it will become quite creative, I feel. And yeah, there's still lots to do, but it's exciting. And I think it really helps us to improve what is possible in a blog WooCommerce WordPress world.
Well, there was a lot to unpack. So
Yes.
first
It's a big project
I
that kind
might
of
not,
occupied me for the
yeah,
last 10 months.
no kidding, and others before you. So you mentioned first that the work on a theme is also based on the core blocks that are in Woo and that they need to be refined. If I remember correctly, you have a call for input or for feedback out for WooCommerce developers. Is that still ongoing or is that already closed? I wasn't really up to that.
No, definitely. We have a call out at any time for we need, especially also extension builders, we need their feedback on what they want in our blocks. We need feedback from theme builders, what they want the Woo blocks to be able to do. We are also working quite a lot with what we want to bring into core WordPress, and there's a lot of changes happening to bring more of the default things that users expect from e-commerce into core. So that is happening, and it does affect the blocks as well. So yeah, and we can add some links to requests for feedback, and I'm also like always available for any kind of feedback. And I think once the theme is out, we haven't promoted it really because it's still in the works, but it will kind of come out with the next WooCommerce release, which is beginning of June. And then we are gonna really say, hey, we need people to test it and extension builders to test it out and give us feedback.
Is there a GitHub repo where people can do a sneak peek?
Yes, there is a public GitHub repo. We can add the link to the podcast as well. And it's, yeah, we're still doing a lot of changes. It's being worked on, but yeah, we definitely need any kind of feedback we can get. And
Mhm.
I think one of the disclaimers, and I put it in the README file as well, is that it's a real work in progress. It's not prettified or so. And I do like that. I think it's good to show the the sweat that goes into the work. And we are also kind of still talking on a lot of changes, like the patterns. Where do we want to put the patterns? And kind of looking in, for instance, what Rich Tabor has built on WordPress.com with a pattern library. And if we can do something like that for Woo, that they are just available outside of themes. And
Mhm.
really, the next step I want to work on is also what kind of default patterns are shipped with WooCommerce. They will get a complete overhaul and kind of make everything more compatible. The starter theme is also based on the same theme JSON setting the assembler, Rich Tabor's assembler theme uses. So it's practically based on the same theme foundation. And I remember Nick Diego said to all his themes, he kind of replaced to work on the basis of assembler, because then we can really mix and match
Mhm.
patterns
Yeah.
across themes. And I think that's a little bit limitations of block themes, that in theory it's possible, but it's not really usable to do that. So that's one of the things we want to improve.
Yeah, the standardizations is a little bit harder to do with block themes because people can mish and mash the patterns from all kind of different sources. Yeah. So timeline wise, the first sneak peek or the first version comes out of the starter theme in beginning of June. But the block work is ongoing, but it needs to come to a certain place so you can release that theme. And it's actually a working example. And then it depends on the feedback that you get and also the integration with other extensions, what the next updates on the theme are going to be.
Yeah, my goal for the next step after this initial release is look at the like top 10 extensions and work with all of them to make it compatible with this theme. And I think this will help all block themes to be more streamlined. And we are also really looking at all the cart and checkout pages and order confirmation. My account page is still not blockified. That's on my wish list. It has been a little bit on the backlog, and I want to change that. And kind of everything post purchase still needs a lot of work, all the page templates there. And yeah, we will redo the whole default WooCommerce patterns that are shipped, redo work on the default page templates that are in WooCommerce, and kind of have a deep look into them, and really make sure that this default starter theme just out of the box really works with everything that kind of WooCommerce recommends. That is the goal. And yeah, that it's still a lot of work to be able
of
to,
course,
to do that. But it's good to have a theme, like a product that we can test it on. I think that was missing with WooCommerce, that a lot of times we really didn't know where to test. And I think we have done it with 2024, 2025, but these themes are not meant to be e-commerce first themes. And I think that's what we wanted to change with that project, that we just felt we needed an e-commerce first theme to
absolutely,
to really test all our product range and our core plugin with.
Makes total sense. So beginning of June, I'm coming back to that because that's also the week of WordCamp Europe. And
I know, so exciting.
it's so exciting that we finally are to that place again, that we meet up and at WordCamp Europe. And if our listeners come, when you see us at the WordCamp Europe and we're talking to somebody, it's all just come up to us, introduce you, and then be included in any conversation. That's what the WordCamp is all about. It's not that people who know each other can click together. It's meet new people, meet new discussions, have a deeper discussion on certain WordPress topics in a face-to-face setting. So what's your talk about then, Ellen?
It's about WooCommerce and blog themes.
Oh, no,
So,
you're just kidding.
yes. Yay. So yeah, I'm available to talk about these topics. Actually, anything. I love to be able to meet in person. I loved last year's being there in Turin, and I'm really excited to be able to be there and getting myself up on stage. I'm a little bit frightened, and my talk is going to be one of the last ones on the second day. So yeah, I'm not sure. I hope I won't be nervous through the whole WordCamp 2 days or 3 days with contributor day, having the talk kind of on the end. But yeah, please say hi and reach out to me as well if you see me around. Yeah, it's I will talk about the benefits of blog themes for e-commerce, because a lot of people, I think, kind of have the idea that blog themes are great for blogs or for websites, for WordPress sites, but don't use a blog theme for e-commerce. And I think that's just a little bit of a perception that people put this in this box, in this drawer, and it's difficult to take WooCommerce out of that. I think once people have that kind of thought in their head that it's not a great idea or not ready yet or so, yeah, I want to give some examples to why I think that is not true. For instance, the blog checkout, how much better the performance is and what kind of benefits people get, because I think a lot of times users really don't know about the benefits and benefits of customizing your single product page and just getting creative on what you can do in regards to maybe even different product pages. And just mainly, I really want to show examples to make it just really visually appealing, that you can drop in patterns and get a really customized WooCommerce experience with blog themes, and also way better performance, and yeah, just the flexibility of it and the ease and the speed, and yeah, just all the benefits that are there. And also not forget to mention some limitations, obviously, that are still there, that mainly come from plugin extensions, WooCommerce extensions not being compatible. And we are really hardly working on it, but there are a lot of extensions. So obviously some e-commerce WooCommerce sites have limitations, but I think it's just good to highlight that, and that we're working on it, and remind people that maybe it's a good idea to switch to a blog theme with your e-commerce site.
Yeah, even if not to switch to, definitely try it out and kind of see where that is.
Or build a roadmap.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that. I will be able to come to kind of learn about all that and bring it back to our listeners later on, or in the Gutenberg Times weekend edition kind of thing. So
what is the topic of your talk or workshop? You're doing a workshop?
I'm doing a workshop, and from zero to demo, how to use WordPress Playground to put a demo for your product together. And we are probably looking at, so it's a 75-minute workshop, and we do it hands-on. We use the Playground built-in blueprint builder. We talk about the steps and the settings and how you get the different landing pages that you could do for your demo. You don't have to start with the front end. You can go deep into. So if you have a plugin that shows something that works in the editor, that you have a landing page that drops the person who wants to test it out right into the block editor of the Playground instance and have all the settings in there that your plugin needs or your theme needs to show off the better part of it, and have that ready for one click. And you don't have to think about a server, you don't have to think about a database, you don't have to think about hosting it somewhere. You just use Playground instance and can demo your product. So I think the workshop is going to be hands-on. It's going really from zero. Okay, what's a JSON file and all that, and then we will build a little demo out. What are the pitfalls for content imports, how the content import needs to kind of be structured so the pictures that you need are actually showing, and all these little things that sometimes trip up people who try it out.
It's exciting. I'm just wondering, do people have to register
For the work,
beforehand for
yes,
the
yes,
workshops?
yes.
How does it
The
work?
registration for
On the
workshop
website?
has been just opened a couple of days ago, or even just a couple of days ago. And you need to register, and you also, registration is not all. It's a free registration, of course. If you already have your WordCamp ticket, you need to use the same email with which you bought your ticket, and then they can match up the two tickets there. It's also necessary that you are at the workshop 10 minutes before, because if there's a waiting list and you are not there to claim your seat, it will go to the waiting list members. Well, I'm in workshops are all competing against all the rest of the talks in 3 tracks. So I don't know how many people will show up. So it's going to be on Friday after lunch at 2:30. No, 1:30, sorry. At 1:30 in the Singapore place, I think. Yeah, workshops. There's also a workshop with Milana Cap on the
Yeah.
interactivity API, and there is a workshop with the block development cookbook with Ryan Welcher. It's always great fun to do. And then Barrow also has a web playground workshop, and that is a little bit going deeper into using it for automated testing. So building automatic tests with WordPress Playground. And then those are the 4 workshops: interactivity API, automated testing with Playground, demo site with Playground, and the block developer cookbook every day. Friday 2 and Saturday 2. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for asking.
I have to register myself too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a listener question since previous Gutenberg Changelog podcast, and one is how to override the block styles that come with the theme. So I did a little short post on the Gutenberg Times on how to do this. If they are registered correctly, then you can do it over the global styles in the editor, site editor. If you can't, because they're registered with an older version of the interface, you can definitely unregister them. So, and add your own block styles to it. I have the link to the how-to in the show notes, and they are also published on that particular post also published on the Gutenberg Times. It's very short, but it dives a little bit deeper into how to do that. You could also, how you override it in theme JSON. This is also it's not a no code variation, but it's also, the theme JSON is fairly human readable, and it gives you an example on how the JSON needs to look, so you can override it in the theme JSON. And then there's also a resource, and that's a huge resource on custom block styles in WordPress, where you get theme developers and plugin developers can learn, if they haven't yet, about 6 methods to do block styles. What are block styles? Block styles is a way to add CSS to a Gutenberg core block. So it's available for the content creator in the sidebar to just switch switch it over to the style. So if you have an image style and you want a certain border, you want a certain radius on the border, you want a certain color on it, and you want also a shadow on it. If that's a standard for you, the theme developer can put that into a block style. And then every time the content creator wants to use that block, it will show, it has a button to show that particular more complicated styling, and doesn't have to do it every time, click by click by click. So it's a one click replacing the style of the core block.
One of my favorites is always the button block, like outline button.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the best examples where we kind of use that main button, a primary button, secondary button, outline button.
Yeah. Yeah. And the core blocks come with rounded corners, and that's normally not everybody's a fan of rounded corners, so you need to override that. But it's relatively easy to do. You can certainly also do block styles very much more complicated than what's in the examples there. I've seen some very interesting block styles for the separator or quotes and pull quotes. They can have some very intriguing designs, but you need to put them into the theme JSON so people can adopt them through the global styles, not theme JSON, in the theme JSONs. Or with WordPress 6.6 comes a very easy way to add block styles, is to put it in a JSON file under your styles, and then just have the naming conventions there in terms of which block they attribute to and what the styles are. So, and then WordPress picks up that from that particular place and adds it automatically to it. So you don't have to worry about your CSS files. You don't have to worry about enqueuing it on the editor or enqueuing it on the front end. It's just WordPress does that all for you. So block styles have been in Gutenberg since the beginning, but this is now the most streamlined way to get them into the theme.
And I always love that, because you can reuse it. It's like just a snippet, a component, and you can reuse it on multiple projects. That is like such a game changer, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can build your own style kind of library locally, yeah. And then just move in the ones that you need. Yeah. If you want to go really out, then you can actually put together your own Webpack building process, where you kind of pull, depending on which parameters, pull in the particular styles, the patterns, and the templates for a new bespoke theme for a client. So yeah, I like that it's all now file-based, and with less code, even more power. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So the two articles will be in the show notes linked. Now we come to the what's released section. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Alan Schlesser, who has done a tremendous job in maintaining the WPCLI components or features. And he just released another update for the version 2.12. Of course, the release notes will be linked in the show notes, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. Now, it's very developer focused. That's why it probably doesn't get so much shout outs on all the WordPress news, but it's a so-called plug and patch commands for caches and transients. That means it can directly manipulate those individual entries via the WPCLI command. And then there are the post list can now handle complex query flags in a JSON notation, which makes it much easier to build the commands out with a text underscore query, which means taxonomy query, meta query, and posted date fields, just to add those with a flag in your command. Post meta can now be forced to return a single value. Sometimes post meta has a certain key has multiple values over the course of a site existence. So you can now flag WordPress to only return the latest one, and you don't have to deal with all the other entries for that particular key value. That's a pretty good, neat feature there. The make JSON command is part of the WPCLI international component, and it's more powerful now. You can set the custom text domain, and you can also define the file extensions to parse. So that's a side note. WPI18N make JSON is the command that is used for JavaScript internationalization on WordPress. With Gutenberg, a lot of interfaces have been built through JavaScript, and they also need to be translated. So this helps you with organizing those strings for translation. Yeah, and WP-CLI is then also fully compatible with PHP 8.4. So if you found that exciting as I do, go and read the release notes, because Ellen has published quite a few example code and commands and what the output is from those commands. So you can skill up your WP-CLI knowledge right there from the release notes. Yeah, so that was the one thing. Do you want to talk us through the WordPress 6.8 release?
Yes, so the 6.81 was the maintenance release, and there were a few. Maybe you have to help me out, Birgit.
Yeah. So yeah, Aaron Jobin mentioned that there are 15 bugs through core and block editor that had been released on April 30th. So the most important one is the regression fix that the meta boxes area had unwanted size handles, and it broke the auto scroll. So you couldn't just scroll down in a post to your meta boxes and fill them out. You had to kind of grab the handle and pull them up because they're now in a separate iframe, or were. And that didn't work well for many sites. And that's why we have a release 2 weeks after the main release that is going to be fixed. So there was a revert on that feature. Also a revert was the edit site link.
The edit site link.
Yeah, in the top admin bar. It had the behavior that when you click on it, you landed automatically on the template of the page that you were looking at. But in 6.8, it changed that you always went back to the first page of the site editor. And somehow the muscle memory of a lot of people who were accustomed to the other one, it was very irritating for them. And they made their feedback known. And it's definitely a 50-50 split. And so they reverted that change and are now thinking of what could be a better solution. And maybe it needs to be a edit site menu, with multiple different menu items in there, like edit template, edit pattern, edit page kind of thing. But yeah, that's out in discussion, and I don't know where it's gonna land, but at least we have the previous fix again in there. And then also, and the REST API handling of the sticky post was a little haphazardous, and it's now fixed. The full list is in the release note, and we put them in the show notes, of course. But yeah, update definitely, because it will be a more streamlined experience. And yeah, a lot of releases today. So great block theme was released with 2.7. Do you want to grab that, or?
Yeah, I can take over. So yeah, I love that plugin. I use it quite a lot, and it had been it's really improved over the years. So if you maybe haven't checked it out yet or don't even know that it exists, it's really, really cool for quickly creating block themes or child themes, or just kind of creating patterns, like building out your patterns. So some updates that were done in the latest release 2.7 was that there was a bug with the captions not being translated, and that was fixed for image and video blocks. Then another one was the icons for the sidebar. I think there were problems with translations and right to left language. The icons weren't on the right side, and the help button wasn't aligned. So you can see the before and after screenshots of the changes. And I think the chevron, I'm not sure if I'm saying that word correctly. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Birgit. I never know how to pronounce
it's a chevron,
it.
Yeah.
It's a chevron. Yeah, they weren't switching on to the other side. So that was fixed. And I think also some sizing for the icons. And then PHP CS removed unused files, and it just released files. I'm not 100% sure what was the problem there?
I don't know what the problem was, but it's fixed.
Just just some
No,
unused files were
yeah,
deleted, or
yeah,
yeah,
there were
okay.
some unused files that were not used in the composer when you were putting together a development environment for the plugin. So because contributors want to contribute, but they want to make sure that the environment is in the right place. Then there were some also code quality fixes, and the WPN, that's the testing WordPress, the configuration has been improved and offers now certain environment variables that you can set on the command. So the create block.
The major.
Say again?
That were the major updates for that release.
There's right now a discussion going on GitHub and on the repo about what to do with the pattern management, because the advantage putting the patterns in there doesn't offset the disadvantages while working with it in the site. So what it does right now is when you say, okay, save the patterns, it will remove the patterns from the database and put it all in the theme. But of course, all the sync patterns will become normal patterns, because in a theme you don't have sync patterns. So it's kind of that in-between problem, that sync patterns are not yet available for themes, but you actually want them in your site. So it confuses people quite a bit. And that's a discussion, how not to confuse people, which is actually a pretty good goal.
It's
But
tough.
totally tough, yeah. So, and that brings us to the Gutenberg releases. We have Gutenberg 20.7 came out with 22 contributors. 2 of them were first timers. And I'll start with format library. The format library is the library that controls the drop down on the block toolbar with different formatting options. And now you can also set the author value for the highlight. So you could actually highlight some words in a paragraph and click on the format drop down and then highlight that, and it would give you a color theme. But now you can also set the author value for the highlight manually. That format features are now also available for the details block. Now you can highlight stuff in the details block, in the summary, or in the expansion thing.
Yeah, I think there
cool.
was some kind of hard-coded things in there that we couldn't do that, and now you can do all the formatting in the details block.
Yeah, there was
Is that
hard-coded.
correct?
What was hard-coded was the allow list in the details block. So they removed that. So now all the formatting is available for the details block.
The next one was the navigation in the side view. Now it automatically, the default is that it expanded, and before it was not
Yes.
expanded. You had to have an extra click to open the sub menus. And in the PR, there's a before and after, and it's really an improvement because you can see right away the entire menu. I love the side view.
Oh, yeah, it's actually a list called list view.
The list view, and also in like in the page editor, in the template on both sides, it's now automatic by default expanded. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah, right now the navigation block, when you try to edit it, it has a nice sidebar as well, and it's also there expanded. So next item I want to talk about is the table block. Table block doesn't get a whole lot of love from Gutenberg developers, but it's actually pretty cool. And what's mostly cool about it is when you have a markdown table from GitHub or from any other. So even if you work with AIs, I had a list of posts with views and all that, and the AI created that, but I told them to give me a markdown table. So when I can copy paste it into a post. And that was really cool because it now preserves also the column alignment in the pasting. Before you had to just fiddle around with it quite a bit on certain things where it wouldn't come over. But that's actually a really good feature to be that it's possible that you can paste markdown tables. Not only markdown, that we knew, but you can also markdown tables, and it's pulling it into a table block. I think that was it for 20.7. Yep. Okay. That brings us to 20.8. And 20.8 hasn't been released yet when we record the show, but the release candidate was out, and that's what our changelog is about. So the create block package can now also have a text domain flag when you start out your scaffolding. So it will be repeated throughout the plugin, your text domain for the translation as well. And you don't have to manually put this all in.
I think the next one was that the text is now customizable for the next and previous button text, which wasn't possible before to customize the text. That was an improvement.
Absolutely. There are now 2 new properties for the component available where you can customize it by code when you use them in your plugins. And that's for the guide component. The guide is what pops up, but nobody reads, is the guide that comes up with the block editor. If you first time install a site and go into the editor, that's the guide.
As a guide.
But you can use it also for your plugins, and you can use it also for your theme if you want to add text in there to guide your users to certain things, and then also makes those buttons are now customizable.
I think the next one was search functionality for page templates. When you want to change the page template or swap them out, there wasn't a way to, if I understand correctly, to like a proper or easy way to search for your templates if you have a lot of them. And now that's improved. Is that correct, Birgit?
Yeah, and it's also for the pattern selection search.
Oh, okay. The same.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah.
I think that is really, really helpful.
Yeah, and the testing instructions starts out, make sure you have at least 15 templates in there.
Yeah.
That cannot be applied to a page.
Which can quickly happen. And I mean, that's cool to have custom templates.
Right. Yeah, but that's, if you have
you need a lot.
You definitely need a search component in there, yes.
To roll through them.
Yeah. The next one mentions the reverse of the split view for the meta boxes that were in 28. It was released in Gutenberg, but it then was backported to the 6.8.1 release. So this is definitely already out, and it's also in the WordPress versions. Yeah, the widget editor, I didn't even know we had a widget editor. So that
I was just saying, I didn't quite understand that one, to be honest.
Yeah, in the classic theme, you have the widget menu, and that is for a long time already a block-based interface. So you need to lock the widget saving or the update button and all that. So now you can lock some of the functionality, because not everybody should be able to do stuff there. Yeah, and then there are some fixes on the block editor. Now, that was actually always a pet peeve from mine, that when you get invalid blocks, that you can't at least edit the HTML because you don't know what needs to be fixed. And now you can edit the HTML for invalid blocks.
I do like that a lot too, because sometimes it happens and you have that code there and you like want to get in.
Yeah, the last time I think I had it with the
now you can
Jetpack, with Jetpack AI features. Yeah, somehow when I mark 2 paragraphs and then the first paragraph becomes invalid when I hit on the AI feature, and it was only because there's one of the HTML wasn't closed well enough. I need to figure that out and do a bug report. But yeah, it would have been really helpful to just manipulate the HTML of that. Yeah. The next one is that PR or update will prevent spacer block to have a negative width when it's used in a row block. That offsets all kind of different things, and that can definitely ruins your design. You can have a spacer block with a negative margin or a negative width. That's no problem.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
But not inside
not
the
in a row
block.
block. Yeah, because that
so now
confuses
it kind of
the design of the browser.
Detects, hey, I'm a spacer block inside a row block, and the negative margin option is not available any longer.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
Yeah, and there's a quality fix on that. Some of the block HTML now get box sizing property, so that the overflow into the next block or into the next design element can be prevented. That's definitely a good fix, because some people are kind of getting really elaborate on those designs, and then how do you handle that? We already mentioned the create block at the text domain flag, so that's now in the create block README. The block bindings API has a post meta limitation. This new update prevents protected post meta that are prefixed with underscore that cannot be used for block bindings. And the post meta also has to be available in the REST API. Those are the two limitations, and they were not yet mentioned in the documentation. And also, block bindings are only available for 4 blocks. So that's the heading block, the paragraph block, the image block, and the button block. All other blocks cannot yet handle block bindings. So those are all 3 limitations there. And now it's in the documentation. With working on those block style articles, I found that the latest register block style parameter that came in with 6.6 called style underscore data hasn't been documented, which has been done now, because that's a great way to use it in a plugin, to use the style data, because only the style underscore data for the register block style function also puts the styles into the global styles for content creators to modify them. All the others, you can do it on the page by page level. It's in the styles, but you cannot change them globally for a site. Yeah, that was an interesting find there. So yeah, that's our Gutenberg releases. Wow, that's cool. We are done with that. I think that the release is either Friday, May 9th for 20.8, or even today. We're recording this on May 8th. So, well, we've come to the end of things. So, Ellen, I wish you safe travels to Europe.
Thank you.
When are you flying in? I don't want to stalk you, but
Saturday night and arriving Sunday early morning, and then heading actually to Berlin for a team meetup first, then heading to Sweden for another meetup, and then kind of taking a little family holiday break before arriving in freshly rested in Basel.
Yeah, and with all the updates from the team, freshly rested. So
yes,
yeah, you get the latest from WooCommerce from Ellen Bauer at WordCamp Europe.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting trip. I'm looking forward to coming to Europe. Yeah. It should be fun. Is there any good weather, Birgit? I've seen June, on the weather channel it's like quite coldish.
Beginning of June, it's normally pretty warm during the day. Yeah, especially in that area. That's always a little bit ahead towards summer than the rest of Germany.
It's the warmest.
Yeah, because it's a little warmer.
I know.
That's
I didn't bring any warm clothes, though.
Well, I would bring a sweater or something like that.
I think I have to buy one.
Yeah. We are actually heading out for vacation in end of June. So we have team meetup end of June. And then afterwards, right away, I'm gonna be in Norway for our family vacation.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So I don't know when we have the next. I think between WordCamp Europe and end of June, we will have another Gutenberg Changelog episode. And until then, as always, the show notes will be published on gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. This is episode 117. And if you have questions or suggestions, as you know, we are going to discuss them on the next episode or in a post on Gutenberg Times or both. And if you have any news that you want to include, send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com, or ping me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Mastodon. And that's all the ends are open. So thank you for coming, Ellen, and thank you to our listeners. And this is goodbye for me. Until the next time.
Yeah, take care, everyone. And yeah, please reach out to us if there's any questions also from my side.
All right.
Thank you for having me, Birgit.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's always fun.
Thank you. It is.
Bye.
Bye.